Welcome back to Pretty Decent with Javier Sierra. This is episode 78. Enjoy. Okay, people. I'm going to start this episode clarifying some things. I know I've been gone for almost a whole month. I'm aware. At the same time, I've been doing so many things, trying to balance so many things, and there's only so much Javi that can go around, to do all of the things I want to do. So I'm sorry. I I had a whole episode recorded, edited. The thumbnail was everything was done. But there was some technical difficulties on my end and I was not able to export it. And by the time I was able to export it, it was Friday. So I was like, there's no point in releasing this episode right now. Might as well just record one this weekend and, upload that this coming week. That way, like you guys really didn't miss anything in the past 3 weeks. The Olivia concert happened. I mean, there's some funny flying stories in that episode. I kind of talked a little bit about more stuff about running, nothing new. It was mostly talking about the running brand that I'm working on starting up with a fellow runner of mine that I met almost a year ago at work. So there was that. And then I kind of talked about Dune because I watched it that previous week. So, that was kind of like the things that I talked about. But yeah, it just didn't feel like worthy of uploading because it just felt like so delayed. And sometimes I'd rather have like, okay, if I'm coming back after like an extensive break, I kind of want to like nothing happened or something like that. Or I don't want it to be where it's like so much time, just my creator brain basically. But that episode's in the vault. If you want to see it, if you want to watch it, let me know. It'll probably be one of those episodes like emergency stuff where the time frame doesn't really matter, or it happened to be where I wasn't able to record because I was on vacation or something happened, or God knows what might happen. And yeah, because that episode is fully edited. It's perfect. It's just ready to be publish. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of wanted to, if I just wanted to make something fresh, basically. And I'm not talking about groceries, but yeah, in typical Pretty Decent fashion, it's a Sunday night. It's 9:30 p.m., 9:33 p.m. However, this time is different because I already meal prep. I washed all of the stuff that I used to meal prep. Everything is ready for my workday tomorrow. We have a 4-day week ahead of us, and I'm excited for that. And the only reason I'm actually recording this late was because I told myself I'm not going to record unless I do everything else that I need to do for work. The only thing I didn't do this weekend that I wanted to do was file my taxes, but I just didn't have the energy to do it. I'm just going to do it, during the week, which is fine. I still have time. This is your reminder to file your taxes because tax day is April 15. So, make sure you file them. But yeah, if you're new, if for some reason YouTube or Spotify recommended you this podcast, welcome. This is Pretty Decent with Javier Sierra. Obviously, I'm the only person here, so I am Javier Sierra. Been doing this for 2 years, and for some reason I'm still here. But hey, I enjoy it, you enjoy it, so let's just have some fun. Hope you stick around. While you're at it, like the episode, subscribe, turn that bell notification on. I have been watching a lot of YouTube, so I have been working on my plugging skills basically. And now my entire YouTube is just F1 because for the past week, that's the only thing I've been consuming on YouTube and social media. It's just F1 because I caved in. I'm an F1 girly now. Except I don't watch it because like the drivers are good looking. I kind of get aroused with all the engineering of the cars. I'm sorry. Okay. I'm sorry if talking about aerodynamics and carbon fiber and how even going from decals to actual painting the sponsors on the car affects milliseconds of the performance of the car is somewhat hot to me. I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry as an engineer that actually enjoys and understands the physics of the cars and how that's such a big factor. It's as much of a factor as a driver. It's crazy. And to me, that's what makes F1 so interesting. And I actually took the time to understand the rules. I literally watched, I think if you were to go on my YouTube, I probably have watched close to almost 30 hours of YouTube when it comes to F1. Because I use it as background noise. Like if I'm on the kitchen, if I'm cooking, if I'm showering. It's like, that's my podcasting when I listen to, because normally like I don't like having, I only shower with, no background noise if it's early in the morning. But most of the time, I always have something playing. I guess like the only time I'm not watching F1 stuff is when I'm at work or when I'm in the car. Because I can't listen to podcasts. I don't know why, but there's something about having the video when I'm just like even in the kitchen or something like that. But even though like I'm cooking and I'm not even looking at the phone, I still like having the video, which is weird. I don't know. My brain is dumb. But yeah, I don't know. The Australia Grand Prix was yesterday at 11 p.m. It hasn't even been 24 hours since it wrapped up, and it was so intense. And one of my best friends drove late at night to come watch it here, and just like talking about like something that we both share an interest. I mean, he has been a fan for longer, and I pretty much recently just started getting into it. Like, cause yeah, a lot of people talk about like the drivers and like the drama because of like Drive to Survive on Netflix and all that stuff. But like we were actually talking about like who was gonna go where next season and like the performance of the car and like what strategically makes sense for what team to grab what driver and stuff like that. Because like this season is crazy because, well, if you're into F1, I guess you'll understand why it's crazy. But if you're brand new to F1 like myself, and I'm just like getting started, like I don't want to talk about the engineering stuff of the car, because if you don't like engineering, you won't understand it, and I don't know how to dumb it down when I have already dumbed it down for myself pretty much. But and like I dumbed it down for a manufacturing engineer pretty much. So it's going to be very hard for someone to understand all of the engineering terms. So, just go watch a YouTube video. That's what I did. Except I watched it with the engineering terms. Whatever. But, this season, before even the season started, the whole thing of Hamilton signing with Ferrari was like crazy, right? That means that, Hamilton still has one season with Mercedes. However, like, it's just like there's only 7 drivers that are for sure going to be in a certain team next season, not 2024 but 2025. That means that everyone's going to be fighting for a seat, because you have 10 teams, 20 drivers. Each team has 2 drivers. It's crazy. It's just bananas. And then like the interesting things are when like the lower teams are the ones that are fighting to see, like, the drivers are pretty much fighting amongst themselves to see who's going to stay in F1 pretty much. And it's just crazy because you have the whole thing of like, well, you have drivers that are in bad teams but are above average drivers, and then you have like mediocre drivers in amazing teams pretty much. And it's just crazy. And like I eat all of that up. I like gobble like it just makes me go crazy. Like the whole thing, like I watched like videos explaining how dominant Verstappen used to be when he's like, like pretty much from like when he started to like current day and stuff like that. And like, how like Vettel was also dominant, and like Hamilton, like the stuff that like 2000s till today, essentially. It's like what I've watched. I mean, obviously, like Niki Lauda and Schumacher, the classics, right? It's just crazy because like there's so much drama, and like, yeah, that's like the pinnacle of what's it called? Not endurance sport. Like the pinnacle of like racing, I guess. Cause yeah, like you can't compare F1 to NASCAR. Like, yeah, I'm not gonna get into that rabbit hole, but F1 is just so interesting because it's like the way that they sell it as like a reality TV, pretty much, with like the intros and stuff like that, like the classic George Russell. But it's so cool. But then you have like, because like obviously sponsors are attracted to the personality of the driver. But then you have someone that's not that sellable, like Verstappen, but he's such an amazing driver that of course you want to sponsor him, essentially, right? And then that brings in more money. It's just crazy. Like all of the stuff that happens in an F1 team is crazy. Like, you have like an aerodynamics engineer, and then you have a materials engineer, and then you have like a team just dedicated to the painting, a team dedicated to like the safety, a team dedicated to like tire strategy, a team dedicated. It's just crazy. Like everything that, and then you have like the driver and like how they have to do use the sim and stuff like that. It's just it's so insane. Like like how you have the engines and like the regulations put in by the FIA and all that stuff, and like it's just it's I could ramble for the entire episode, but I don't want to, because this is gonna be my thing. Then I'm gonna keep to myself, and I'm just gonna talk to my friends about it every now and then in the episodes. If it's like intense, I'll talk about it. But I guess like I'm here to submit my bid as to who I'm gonna be following. So I have a driver that I'm gonna be religiously following and rooting for the entire season, and a team that I'm gonna be rooting for. The driver is Fernando Alonso. He's just such a good driver. He's so old, yet he still kicks so much ass on the grid, and that's insane. Because Aston Martin has an all right car, but he makes it look like it's like a McLaren or a Ferrari, which is crazy. But I don't like Lance Stroll. There's just something. His voice is so annoying. And it's just like how he made it to the F1 team is just, it just pisses me off. George Russell is a close second as to who I'm rooting for. I don't know why. There's just something like watching. I've been watching a lot of like them interact, like the drivers interacting with each other, and like you can, I don't know, it like yeah, they're millionaires driving fast cars for a living, but for some reason, like Formula One as a company does a very good job of like grounding essentially like the drivers, which is weird to think about. Like you can see them as like normal people. I don't know why, but like I get the feeling like it's I don't know, like it makes it seem like yeah, they have like a buttload of money, but I guess like how the way they promote each other, like they promote all the drivers, makes them more like human in comparison to like like other types of athletes and stuff, like like soccer stars, football stars, or basketball players, or all that stuff. Like I don't know, like it just seems it's like that's just how I interpret it, I guess. But yeah, and like like I was talking with my friend yesterday, and we were like, do you think like it's like when they do stuff together, like it's like being with a coworker, because technically they all work for F1, but then you have like each team and all that stuff under F1, and obviously like sometimes F1 puts different drivers together to do like promoting stuff, and like a bunch of them, like there's a certain generation that like were in F2 together, so like obviously like they've known each other, or they're from the same country, like that type of stuff. So we were probably saying like, oh, I bet like it's like coworkers, like like you're yeah, like you have like obviously like with some of them you're gonna be closer, but then you have like, oh yeah, like we're friends from work, essentially like acquaintances. So I don't know, like the whole dynamic is weird, and like it makes you think on like the social aspect of it, but then like the whole who's the main driver of the team, and then like who's like the secondary, right, and all that stuff, and like the hierarchy of the stuff and everything just makes you think about just I don't know, it's crazy. But going back to like what I was talking about, the team I'm rooting for is McLaren. I don't know why, but there's something about McLaren as a team that just intrigues me a lot. It like I feel like Red Bull is because like obviously like everyone is always like, oh, like everyone's always hitting on Verstappen, like you can't blame him for being a ridiculously good driver, being in a ridiculously fast car. like why are you hating on someone for being good? And I'm pretty sure this is what the same thing that happened to Lewis when he was like winning everything for 6 years in a row. So like I guess like it's similar to like when the best team in whatever league is winning and like everyone's hating on them. And I personally have never liked that. I've always been like more like respecting the team, because I'm like, you gotta think like it's not easy to be in that. Like obviously they work hard. It's not like luck or whatever. Like if they've been that dominant for that long, it's not luck at that point. Like you can't be lucky for 3 years or something like that. Like when you had, I guess in American terms, when you had the Patriots, right, with Tom Brady just being dominant and winning however many Super Bowls Tom Brady had with the Patriots, or like the Warriors when they won with KD, and before that they had won one, and then after that they won another one, like that type of dominance. Or in soccer you have Real Madrid. Well, that's not American, but you have like a team like, yeah, because like American soccer is just ass. But you have like Real Madrid winning 4 Champions Leagues, 3 Champions League in a row, which is insane to think about, that they won 3 in a row. but yeah, like I've never seen like hating on a driver or like hating on someone or a team that's just been dominant, because at that point, like that's not luck. Like you can't say like, oh, they're so lucky, or like no, like they're just good. That's just complete dominance. Okay, like they're just good. Just deal with it. Okay, I mean it's not gonna last forever. And every, like eventually it's just gonna be like a falling off, but maybe like they'll still be competitive, but it's not always gonna be up there. Like look at the Warriors, they stink. Okay, the Patriots, they stink. Why? Because Brady left. Okay, everything comes to an end. So anyway, back to F1. Yeah, I never understood. I mean, obviously, oh, I guess wrapping up with the team stuff. Yeah, I don't know why I like McLaren. I think it's the whole Norris is looking for his first Grand Prix win, and then Piastri is like second year driving, and I don't know, like I guess like McLaren has a lot of history. I feel like being a Ferrari fan is too mainstream. It's like being a Lakers fan essentially, or a Yankees fan, unless obviously you're from there, but it's different with F1. I don't know. And then Red Bull is like, oh, like that's like the strong team right now. So that would be like claiming claiming you've been what's dominant team right now? Who won the Super Bowl? The Chiefs. Yeah, claiming you've been a Chiefs fan for the past 20 years, when in reality you started being a fan when they beat the Niners, what, 4 years ago? Yeah, 5 years ago, whatever. Um and then Mercedes would be, I don't know what the equivalent would be of Mercedes in other sports terms, because Mercedes was pretty dominant, obviously, when Lewis was in it, but well, when Lewis was winning everything for the past 6 years, well, for 6 years straight. But yeah, you understand what I'm saying? Like I always pick like, oh my god, I always pick teams that have orange in it. The Knicks, the Knicks. I don't know. I'm a Broncos fan, but I'm still riding with the Broncos for some reason. Um, McLaren, but yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I think I have something for the color orange that I don't understand, but I guess I like the color orange. Um, but yeah, we're gonna talk a little bit about the Grand Prix that happened yesterday. It was just crazy to think that the only way that Verstappen doesn't win is if he doesn't finish the whole race, when essentially his car blew up 3 laps in, which is crazy because, you know, he was looking to win his 10th race in a row. And then the only reason he wasn't able to do it was because of a DNF, because his car blew up, which is crazy. And then, you have Science's entire story this season of like, well, before the season started, Ferrari announced that they're going to replace him with Hamilton next year. So now you have a whole season of essentially Science just, yeah, racing for Ferrari, but pretty much racing for himself to prove to the other teams like, yo, like I'm free, I'm up for grabs. So there's that. And then, there's also, I think everyone knows there's a an unspoken battle between Leclerc and Science, to, Leclerc wanting to prove that, yeah, I deserve to stay in Ferrari, even though it's official that he's staying in Ferrari. And then, Science proving like, yeah, you guys are messing up by letting me go. So, and then you have McLaren, trying to make it up with Piastri and Norris. And then you have Red Bull trying to deal with, well, Verstappen is just dominant. And like, trying to be dominant and still being dominant with their car that's just fast as shit. And then you have Red Bull figuring out who's going to replace Checo, because let's be honest, Checo's not going to stay next season. So they have the whole thing with, what is it, Red Bull RB Visa Cash Up, whatever, with Tsunoda and Daniel Ricciardo. And then you have, what other story is interesting? Oh, you have Fernando. Vamos, Nando. Pretty much just like seeing where he can go, because he's not for sure coming back to Aston Martin next season. And then, you have like all of the drivers that always finished below 10, those like 11 to 20, figuring out, like, trying to show the higher ups, trying to show them, or even like the teams they are in right now, trying to prove like, yo, like, you should keep me for next season, because like I can do this even when the car is ass and it's essentially a tractor. And this is just crazy, because there's a rumor of like Carlos going to Audi next season or whatever, right? But yeah, the Grand Prix was interesting. I mean, Verstappen was gone 3 laps in, and then it was just like, Sainz leading the entire race, and then you had the battle between Leclerc and Norris, trying to figure out who was going to pass who, and then Sainz coming from a surgery, appendicitis, and missing the previous race, and recovering just in time to be able to race this one, which is nuts. And then Hamilton went out, I think it was like 30 something laps in. His car just decided to say bye, and then just like stop working. And then and on the final lap you had Fernando, Alonso, brake checking Russell, and then Russell just flipped, and the car was just stuck in the middle of the track. And I don't know why, but I thought they should have put the red flag just for Russell's safety. But they just did the virtual safety car, which was crazy. Because the crash was pretty significant. And then before the race even started, you had the whole thing with the Williams team, with Alex Albon crashing so bad that the chassis on the car broke, and then they didn't have a replacement. So then they had to kick out Logan Sargent, the American, right? He doesn't know what a kilometer is, right? And then he had to step out of his car, and Williams gave his car to Alex, and then like they had to like Frankenstein a new car out of Logan's car. And then like Williams was only driving with one that weekend, so it's just crazy. But yeah, it was intense. It was, I mean, it's funny that the fact that the only way that Verstappen cannot win is if he doesn't finish the race because of a mechanical issue. Essentially, it's crazy. Like the rear brake was just melting. I don't know if it was because of the temperature of the track, because Australia was doing it in broad daylight, and it was 11 p.m. when we were watching it here. But yeah, it was, I finally caved in after 3 years of my friends telling me to watch F1. I finally understand it. And the thing is, like, it's funny because I was talking with my friend yesterday when watching the race. I was like, don't you find it kind of weird how, like, you have, like, I was telling him, like, how I follow some people, like, I went to school with, and they, like, are in committed relationships, and they, like, pretty much post thirst traps about the drivers, like Leclerc or Sainz, or who's the other one I see a lot of? I think those are the main two. Like everyone that I went to school with just like goes crazy for, and it like, and then I was like, don't you find it funny how like, they're like, that's not considered wrong, but then if a guy were to make like a fan page about a girl, that's like, yo, like that's a red flag. It's like, like the double standards, right? We still have them. They're still here. But yeah, I don't know, like he was like saying like that he also sees that a lot of the time. Like, and like that's part of how F1 has grown. It's just like the personality, the drivers being personalities, and like, you know, as a handsome man myself, they are handsome men. So, I won't lie. Um, except Stroll. There's something about him that I just don't like. But yeah, it's just kind of weird, like it's kind of like, okay, chill, okay? They're human. Calm down. Um, I never really understood that whole thing. I mean, I guess it's because I'm not a woman, but or even like, yeah, even guys that like just like idolize models and stuff like that. I never really understood that. I don't know. I guess I'm just built different. uh, but yeah, I don't know. I always found that weird and awkward because like, okay, I know you're probably gonna say, well, Javi, whenever the Knicks win, you post you post something about them. Yeah, I post about the team. I don't post a picture of Jalen Brunson and then I put like hard eyes and be like, oh my god, he's so handsome or something like that. No, okay. I post about the team and how much we kick ass in the Eastern Conference. That's a difference. I idolize the team, not the players. Okay? I keep it in my pants when it comes. Well, I try to keep it in my pants when it comes to the Knicks. I just love the Knicks. Okay, but yeah, I've never really understood. Like, yeah, it's just weird. It kind of like like, yeah, I think that the like guys on Twitter just like, well, X now, like going crazy over like artists and like, I don't know, it's crazy. Like, I mean, I guess like the most common that I see is Selena Gomez, Kendall Jenner, Kylie Jenner. Uh, yeah, that type of stuff I've never really understood. Like, yeah, they're like in societal standards, they are good looking people, but I don't know. I always found that weird. Like, and I can't hate on fan pages because sometimes fan pages make very funny memes if you like follow the personality, I guess. Like I won't lie, like sometimes like memes are funny and it doesn't make it's not creepy. But whenever it's like some pages, and this goes to like, like fan pages that are about like male personalities and fan pages that are about female personalities. I'm not hating on specifically on one or the other, right? I'm talking about both. So, don't hate me on the comments. But sometimes like it is creepy. It's borderline like, okay, like they're also a human being. Like, calm down, okay? Everything's gonna be okay. Like they're also a human being. Like many times I think about like how I would act if I were to meet a celebrity. Because, like, obviously nowadays with like social media and everything, it's very easy that you learn about the personality like from their point of view, like, like their personal life. Like they talk about when they go in interviews, like, oh, like I'm just a regular person. Like I just want to be treated like a regular person. I don't like being invaded by cameras or whatever. Like like for example, the whole thing with Bad Bunny, like I think it was like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when a fan like rushed to his face with the phone and like whatever, trying to take a picture, and then he just like grabbed the phone and threw it out. Like a lot of people were like hating on him for that, and like some people are saying like, well, that's what comes in when like you're a personality, like, you know, you're a celebrity, like what did you expect? In my opinion, I did not hate on him for doing that, because that's just disrespectful. And like, you know, like, just, you can be a normal person around them, they're also a human being. Like this all happens when you put them, I mean, yeah, celebrities, we, everyone looks up to famous people because, you know, for you know, they did something that makes them be that great at what they do. But we sometimes forget that they are also human beings, and like they have feelings, and they go through, like, you know, they also have, they might struggle with anxiety, or they might struggle with depression. I don't know, you know, like they also live, they also have a life. And it's kind of interesting seeing, like, lately I've been seeing a lot of stuff about Mbappe saying like that he would give up all of his money just to be normal for a day. And then you have like pretty much every upcoming, like, up and coming influencer or TikToker or whatever, like just wants to be, have money and like be famous. And then it's like, you know, like kind of like, it just puts it, it's just interesting because, like, you know, obviously there's like some celebrities that they went into their craft to try and help out their family, and then the people that admire those celebrities, perhaps, you know, some of them are trying to follow in their steps to help out their families, but then there's also a majority of them that are like, I just want to have money and be famous. And then, you know, like, I don't know, maybe some people do enjoy being famous. I don't know. Like maybe they like being surrounded by cameras or whatever. Um but yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like, it weirds me out just seeing like fan pages and stuff like that of like, you know, like people just like pretty much dehumanizing celebrities or other people. Because it's like, I don't know, it always weirded me out. It always like it's okay if you like something, but to the point that like it's borderline idolizing is concerning, to say the least. That's just my 2 cents on it. I know you're probably gonna say, well, Javi, you you always like post stuff about One Direction, blah blah blah, or like Louis Tomlinson, or like the New York Knicks. But it's like, well, see, the difference is that, what's the difference? I guess like for me, I'm just digging my own grave right now. I guess for me, I'm never like, and see, this is tough because, like, as a person, I've never been someone that's gonna idolize someone else. Like maybe look up to someone, or like what they do like is impressive, and you know, you like kind of use them as inspiration in your life, and that's normal. I feel like that's normal. Like that's, you know, that's like just like how being a human being works. But then when you have the whole thing of like obsession, that's different. Because like I'm not obsessed with the things that I like. Like I can go about my day without talking, or, you know, enjoying the things that I like. I mean, do I enjoy the things that I like? Absolutely, but it's not like I'm like obsessed with it, that I'm like, if like my life would not be different if that thing was not present in my life, essentially. Like that's to me when it's like, okay, like, you know. um but yeah, I'm not trying to hate on anyone. If, you know, if I don't know, I guess it's just weird like seeing like, because, and I mean, I just don't like double standards. Double standards is the one thing that really like that's like the like it really like just like makes me irk essentially. It's like it's the ick, you know. It gives me the ick cuz I like it's just I don't know. It just I just know like I guess it also comes from being in the relationship. I mean, yeah, it part of it is from being in a relationship, but I also I guess like it just I don't know. I feel like I've always been I'm gonna call myself a self-proclaimed outcast, but that's just because like that's just how I am as a person. I guess I always see everything from outside. Um, it's just like I don't know. I've never like if I were in a committed relationship, because like this is the thing. Like I don't know. It's weird. It's just weird. Okay, it's weird. Like yeah, I'm just gonna put it at that. It's weird, and I don't want to hate on people liking stuff, but it's just sometimes it is borderline concerning. Because yeah, like yesterday, well today, my entire all of my Instagram stories were just flooded with uh posts and like science and like just like the hard ice and stuff, and I'm like, aren't you like? I'm not trying to, like get involved in your relationship with your partner, but aren't you like in a committed relationship for the past 4 years? I just know that, and this is I've thought about this even before since before I was in that relationship. I just know that if the guy were to put something about that about either a female athlete or like an artist or something, like let's say like a guy like posts he's in a committed relationship and then he posts a picture of Ice Spice on his story or something like that. I don't know why, but the first person that comes to mind is Ice Spice or Selena Gomez. Okay, like the most followed woman on Instagram, right? They post a story of Selena Gomez and they put hard eyes, hard eyes, hard eyes, right? I just know that the girlfriend would not be that happy. That's all I'm gonna say. But if the guy were to come and say something to the girl for posting something about a celebrity, a male celebrity, then the guy would be on the wrong. And I'm not saying that that's always the case, but that's just how I've seen it when it comes to like either on YouTube videos and stuff when there's like people that go uncut and like the button or whatever, and like just like from personal experiences talking to couples that are in committed relationships. That's just how I see it. That's how I interpret it. And like I don't think I've ever done anything like that where I like post something about like the opposite gender on my stories where I'm like, oh my god, they're like so beautiful, like ugh. Like no. I mean, if anything, even before I started dating my girlfriend, I just kind of like got tired of like just following celebrities that just like for no reason. Like if I follow a celebrity on my social media, is because they provide something, either like most of them are musicians, because it's a good way of for me to be on top of like what they're releasing, because like I have a good my connection to music, it runs very deep, so that's something that I'm always going to try and keep up with. They're athletes that are part of my favorite team, so like maybe they have a side project they're working, so like we're going to support you know the people that essentially make or break your whole existence, because if the team sucks then you're going to have a terrible year. Me for like the past 6 years with the Knicks, like, until recently. Um, or, if it's something like from running or like health or whatever, that's pretty much what my feed is. And then memes. But like whenever like some of like those like Instagram pages would like promote like you know like stuff that just is just not, I don't want to see that, because like I feel like everything nowadays is just like very sexualized, even when you don't when like even in media, like especially like it's funny how like TV shows think like people want to see sex scenes in movies when that's not the case. That to me is like awkward. Seeing like that's, I think like that's one of the main reasons I never really enjoyed Game of Thrones, is because there's just so many sex scenes in them. It's just weird. Like, because does it really add to the plot of the the story, or like the character arc or whatever, like, or is it just because you know that that's gonna sell, like, and yeah, I don't know. It was it was weird. It's weird, just like how everything on like on social media, it's just like, I guess like something that's like like has to be borderline controversial, or just like has to have shock value essentially. Yeah, I don't know. It's just like the current state of the internet is weird, because like, yeah, I don't know. It's weird. Like, I guess like, yeah, being in the relationship just does put stuff in a different perspective for the better. Um, because yeah, definitely did open up my eyes. Because obviously, like from my end, not having wait have not having been in a relationship pretty much for until 8 months ago, um, you do see things differently. And then obviously, like, now that being in the relationship is like, it took me a while to kind of like rewire my brain to know, like, to realize like, oh, there's this, you know other person that I actually do enjoy talking to, and like checking in on them and all that stuff. I mean, I'm not saying that I don't enjoy checking in on my friends, but this is different, like, this is your partner, like that type of stuff. Like, I had to tell my girlfriend for like the first month or two. I was like, oh, also, if at some points like I just forget to text, I'm sorry. I'm just not used to talking to someone all the time because I want to talk to them. It's just most of the time, like, I just like forget that I have my phone. And like, I told her, I was like, I was single for like 20 something years. Okay. Like, I'm used to not talking to anyone pretty much. Cause like, yeah, like I text my friends every now and then, but we're never like, we have to text every day or we're not friends. Like, I've never been like that. Never. Um, I mean, even like with my family, like, I think, and I'm working on talking to them more often, but even then it's just like, I don't know. I guess like I've just been so lonely for so I was so lonely for so long that I just got used to like just not having communication with people. And that probably stems from trauma, but it's just funny seeing how, like, well, it's concerning, but it was interesting seeing how on social media, like, Michael B. Jordan, he was named sexiest man alive. He was saying how, like, he's learning to cope with being lonely, and like how finding love can be lonely. And everyone's like, oh my god, the sexiest man alive is learning how to deal with being lonely. And I'm like, yeah, that's more common than you actually think. Like, regular people have to deal like, like it doesn't make him special dealing with loneliness. A lot of people deal with loneliness. I'm not trying to invalidate what he's going through, but yeah, even celebrities go through loneliness. That's very normal. I'm not a celebrity, but you obviously read about that type of stuff in like when they do interviews and stuff like that. Like, yeah, it's just, I don't know. Like, I know I went on a massive tangent after talking about F1, but it all stems from F1. F1 is just everywhere. I think it was all because the whole thing of people just, a lot of the fan base just current, like the more recent F1 fans, just pretty much like fantasizing about the drivers, which that's weird. But I will say there are, and I'm not saying like every F1 fan is like that. I'm not saying like only the men are interested in like the cars and like the business side of it. Like, no, I've met, well, I haven't met anyone from the opposite gender that's into the engineering of the car, but I'm pretty sure there is a handful of people that are interested in F1 because of not fantasizing about the drivers, but like the actual sport and like everything that is behind the sport. But yeah, it's just I don't know. Like, I guess like the current, no, not talking about F1 anymore, but like the current state. Yeah, this really just made me think about a lot of stuff about the current state of like how just being single for so long just like made me see things in a different plane of existence, bro. Like, because I guess it all stemmed because the whole thing of me saying about like, oh, like, like a bunch of the more recent fans, F1 fans, like the female fan base of F1 are just in it for the drivers, right? I think it was because I think it was on Instagram. It was this. I'm not hating on her, but this is just how like the thought started. Okay, this is how the train of thought started. I saw multiple people on my Instagram stories, and there were people that were single when I met them in college, and then like now they're in like committed relationships for like they're in committed relationships for like 3-4 years. Some of them are engaged and stuff. Some of them are married, and then you have them like post this like thirst traps on their stories about Carlos Sainz, and I'm like, whoa, buddy. I just know that if your man were to post something about that about a girl, you'll be ditching his ass. I'm just saying, like, there's a double standard right there, okay? And I don't know, like, if that's like the stepping stone on how you get into F1, into like enjoying something, I guess that's fair. I mean, first impressions, right? But it's just like a thirst trap. Like, that's like, okay, like, it makes it so weird. Like, I don't know. Like, yeah, I can't even like put it into words like what I'm thinking. But yeah, it was just concerning because they do that all the time. And yeah, I'm just, because I know it's, I guess like I'm just gonna keep my thoughts to myself because it's just, I just know that I'm gonna, considering that my viewership and my people that listen, majority of them are women. I'm not gonna say anything, okay? I'm gonna keep you guys on my side before everyone starts hating on me, because I just know like we're just gonna have a lot of discourse, and then it's gonna get aggressive. Not from my end. I just know how it is, so I'm just gonna keep it to myself because I've tried. having civil discourse with multiple people of different backgrounds and different ideologies and everything. And nowadays, most people don't know how to have a civil discussion, whether it be both men, it could be a man, it could be a woman, whatever. A lot of the time people can't seem to comprehend that sometimes what they think is not correct, and sometimes there can be multiple things that are also okay to think about. Like there's just not white one, it's not black and white all the time. Sometimes there's like a gray area that you have to understand, like what's socially acceptable and what's not socially acceptable. Now, if you're in a relationship and like your partner is okay with, you posting that stuff, whether you're a man or a woman, or, like whatever type of relationship you're in, hey, you do you. I'm no one to judge. I'm not in your relationship. So, but I just wanted to provide my 2 cents on the case, essentially. But we're gonna wrap it up. There's a few news, that I gotta cover. This episode was not meant to go on that massive tangent about F1 and then social media and then celebrities and idolizing celebrities. But yeah, some news on the media. There's gonna be Mr. Beast is coming out with a TV show called Beast Games. I really hope that it's like Squid Games, but beast mode. Obviously minus the killing, but like beast mode. It's gonna be on Prime, so that'll be interesting. Up next, we have the Kong Burger. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, in Mexico or Mexico, Mexico, for my Hispanic audience out there. Yeah, Carl's Jr. released the Kong Burger. It's black buns for the burger. Definitely not because Kong has black cheeks. Kong has black buns. Damn it, Carlos Jr. Even when it comes to burgers, I mean, historically, Carlos Jr. has always there's sexualizing food. The Carlos Jr. and like the models, like like they're like drenching barbecue sauce all over their body and stuff with their burgers. Like even now with advertising for good Godzilla X Kong, the New Empire or whatever in theaters this weekend. Not a sponsor. Even with that, they're sexualizing Kong, with his black buns. Crazy. And then this is interesting. The Pooniverse is real. So if you didn't know this, there's I think it was last year, Winnie the Pooh became public domain. Essentially, long story short, TLDR. Is that what TLDR? I never understood what TLDR meant. But long story short, when something becomes public domain means that the previous owners either passed away or like after a certain amount of time, they just becomes up for grabs and like people can use it to make whatever they want with that domain. And essentially, I think last year or 2 years ago, Winnie the Pooh went into public domain, and then someone made a cheap horror movie called Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey. It was a terrible movie, but people still showed up and watched. And then obviously it had a net positive growth on it, and now there's going to be a sequel. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2. I think that's what it's called. And then that studio announced that they're going to make more horror movies based on old Disney characters. Ever since my girlfriend told me that I say Disney, I've been training my brain to say Disney. Because I don't know, I never thought about Disney. Anyway, now I can't stop thinking about it. Anyway, that's not the point. And then there's gonna be, the movie is literally called The Pooniverse. Let that sink in. The Pooniverse. Yeah, it sounds like something it shouldn't be allowed, but it's called The Pooniverse, and the font is legit like the Avengers. Yeah, it should have been the Povengers. No, the Pooniverse, it works. It's just weird. Like, and then it has like Peter Pan, the Mad Hatter, Alice in Wonderland. Like, the poster looks so like crazy. Like, Alice in Wonderland looks like a meth head. The Mad Hatter looks like he's on crack. And then you have like the monsters from Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, the sequel, you know, Tigger and Piglet, and I don't even remember what the bunny is called. The rabbit. Oh, rabbit. You have the owl. Yeah, it's just weird. Like, and I don't know why, but like the fascination of like making like old stuff that was originally meant for kids, make them into horror is weird. And I think that also had to do a lot with like the boom that Five Nights at Freddy's caused, because I mean, I think it all stemmed almost from like creepypastas, because I remember that like that always used to be like, I guess like people are just always driven to wanting that like scare factor in their life, because it's weird. Like, it's not really weird, I mean, it's just interesting. I think that's the word of the episode, interesting. But yeah, I mean, similar to, yeah, Steamboat Willie. I think from, because I don't want to look it up, but I think it's public domain means it is like when the original owner or creator passed away, and after a certain amount of time, it just goes out to the public and anyone can use it to make whatever they want to make out of it. And then, like, you know, like after Steamboat Willie became public domain, a video game was announced, a horror video game was announced, a horror movie was also announced, stuff like that. So yeah, I always found that interesting that, you know, like humans, well, people making horror stuff out of things that you wouldn't think are like, they're normally they're meant for kids, like, you know, like the whole Five Nights at Freddy's, or like, you know, you have like a lot of these horror indie games based on like Bendy and the Ink Machine, which that's actually a good game. I like watching Let's Plays. I don't like playing the games when it comes to horror games, because I'm a little bitch, but I'm a little wuss. I cry. God forbid I cry. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's interesting, you know. Maybe you like playing those horror games. I don't know. I guess we'll find out on the next episode. But yeah, that was it. Thank you for watching, listening, subscribing. This was episode 78 of the Pretty Decent Podcast. My name is Javier. It's always my pleasure and my honor to be here. Have a good night. Have a great rest of your day. Tell your family you love them. Give them a hug if you can. Tell your friends you love them. You know, check in on your friends. Sometimes we get so caught up with our lives that we forget to check in on our friends. Also, check in on yourself. Sometimes we get caught up in life and we forget to check on ourselves. So, yeah. Thank you so much for being here. I know I went on a massive tangent. That just happens when I record late at night. It's 10:35 p.m. So, yeah, I hope to see you guys next week in a brand new episode. In the meantime, take care, and I'll see you guys later.